so many hours in the day, and I was trying to role model that sitting in Costa with my laptop in the 45 minutes I squeezed in before I came here today. I sat there a long time, but no one bought me a cup of coffee, so I had to buy my own. The third aspect, which truly is innovative compared to any other force, is that we absorb a huge amount of data. You can have some guesses about how much data, but probably 10 million pieces of data and evidence every day we absorb. Now, when I was a young officer, everything that we knew about Andy Marsh, the criminal, you could hold it on a collator's card, we call them, and if they were a really problematic individual, they'd touch the floor. You can't do that now. Literally millions of pieces of data, and it can be a blizzard of risk. It can frighten people from making decisions. Now, we're going to turn that, we've turned that problem into the opportunity in that we use advanced predictive analytics and visual graphics like no other police force does. So we run algorithms, some every 8 minutes, some every 24 hours, to identify who's dangerous, who's vulnerable, what do I expect you to do about it. And we use it to get the best out of our resources. So an outstanding police force is one that combines the best traditions of policing, neighbourhoods, leadership, values, caring, teamwork, leadership. We combine that with the best technology of today, tomorrow and the future. And we're very proud to be your police force, and very proud to be your chief. And we look forward to any questions you have.
I think I'll stand up as well if I can, a bit cold. I've done a quick presentation. You'd have thought from what my chief has just said that we've been backstage practicing this for hours. I can assure you we haven't. I came hot-footing up the motorway from a commitment there. But it's very interesting that a lot of what I will say will perhaps give you a little more of the detail that my Chief Constable has just spoken to you about, around some of the innovation that we're using to make policing an outstanding service for the public, despite the demand and despite the challenges we're facing. So I've got someone to drive for me. Councillor Ashton, we are a unitary authority with a population, there we are, of 210,000 plus, I would say, along the census data. This is a little bit dated, but only a couple of years. So we have a population across the county of 210,000 people, and we're 145 square miles. 4 town councils, 35 parish councils, and some councillors here tonight, thank you. What we do have, and I tell you this, one because it's quite interesting, but one because it begins to give you an idea of some of the complexity and the scale of challenging facing me and my teams when we go out every day. If you live in some of the more affluent places in our district, and we're talking towards the north where we all are, and some areas in Portishead and towards the north, those areas find themselves in the top 5% of least deprived areas in the UK. And forgive the our language, which is a bit clunky, but that's the way it's reported. Those statistics come from areas that they call super output areas. So the Office for Data basically divides the public up into groups of 1,500 and looks at a whole set of criteria. So if you live in the top of the district, you're actually really lucky and very fortunate, and you are within the top 5% of most affluent areas. If you come sort of 12 miles down the motorway and you find yourself in this tiny little purple chunk, well, I say tiny, it's not that tiny in reality, in the middle of that yellow section, you find yourself living in the top 1% of most deprived areas in the UK. And in terms of policing those issues, it presents challenges every single day. Crime looks different, social issues look different. Policing responses have to be really agile to deal with the spree offenders who come in from other areas and look at those areas that are affluent and seem to present an opportunity for spontaneous crime. And you travel half an hour down the road, not even that, and you are tackled with those entrenched issues affecting the poorest communities, which actually house some of the best people you're ever likely to meet. And so a real challenge for me and my people to provide a service that's outstanding when it's two ends of the scale that are required. We have 8 million visitors a year, which perhaps is a reflection of our 25 miles of coastline, some much prettier than other parts of it. 8 million visitors a year, massive challenge for policing. A lot of those visitors will come in the summer months. You know, cops are human. We like to take holidays with our children when schools allow us to. So at a time when our resources are already well organised, but less, that's when people want to come and visit us. Most of those people come and have a perfectly nice time and enrich the area. Some of them don't want to do that, and it creates a real policing challenge. And we manage that every single year. And we plan for it, and Sue and the Chief will attest to the fact that we do plan really, really very well. The difficulties caused by austerity, and I don't dwell on them because we're all aware of them, mean that we can plan really very well, but there are no spare police officers, no spare PCSOs tucked away backstage. We are as efficient and as lean as we can possibly be, and yet still trying to improve and deliver the best service we can. The other thing that's interesting about North Somerset is there's a predicted population increase that's vastly bigger than that predicted for the region and that predicted nationally. So 16% population increase for the southwest and nationally, and North Somerset is looking at a 24% population increase over the next 10 years, which again presents challenges to all of us in this room, because that kind of population increase needs a whole load of infrastructure around it. Offers lots of opportunities, but also offers lots of challenges when you're policing those communities. Next slide, please. Okay, just to introduce you then to your local policing team, please don't think there's any level of hierarchy in this, but I'm a bit of a PowerPoint novice, and I peaked on this particular slide when I found myself with an organisational chart. So that's me at the top, but not at the top, I'm just there. I have an inspector called Jess. Unfortunately, she's on annual leave. She can't be here this evening, but she joined me in July of this year. I've been in post for 15 months. Jess joined us in July of this year, has picked up the role really quickly, really enthused about this area. The vast majority of your team live somewhere in North Somerset. I was brought up in this town. In fact, I went to this school. Doesn't look anything like it looked when I went here, but my children go to this school, and in fact they're trampolining about 100 yards that way as we speak. So you have a lot of people with a real investment in an area, a real footprint in this area. Our families are here, and like you, we want this to be a safe and prosperous place to live. Working to Jess and to me, you have your 5 neighbourhood sergeants. Mark will be joining us shortly. He's the sergeant for Nailsea. You've got other Mark just there. He covers Portishead and Clevedon, and then the 3 other sergeants, Julie, Lee and Colin, all cover different beat areas in West of Supermare, and you can see below them, and they all matter to me, and I would have liked to have named them all, but the slides were just getting out of control, and I was told I only had 10 minutes, and I've probably already overrun. Okay, next slide, please. Sue and the Chief have both spoken around their absolute commitment to neighbourhood policing, and since October we have been working to a new model of neighbourhood policing that's been designed to manage demand and offer the best possible service to the public that we can. Those different aspects of our neighbourhood policing, the 6 pillars that we call it, you can see for yourselves what they are. They take some of our core responsibilities, tying in with the policing priorities we have around safeguarding the vulnerable. Very importantly, about community engagement. There's a whole host of research and practical experience which evidences that the more you can engage with your communities and the more you can put intervention into place early, the less crime happens, the less harm that happens to people. The vulnerable are less vulnerable, and actually the experience is better for all concerned. So these are the pillars we're now working to. There's been various measures put in place so that officers have greater capacity to fulfil all of these. And I think I can speak for everybody when I say that they're really excited. Those of us, those people who've worked in neighbourhood policing for a long time, and people like me who've worked there for a lesser amount of time, are actually really excited about the opportunities offered by this new model of policing. We can discuss that in more length afterwards if people would like to. Thank you. The other thing Mr. Marsh spoke about was some of the demand we face, and I put this slide in just to to give people an idea, really, that Sue and I have been to a number of events this year, dealing with the local council and members of the public, where we've spoken about demand and our response to crime. Now, if you look at this pie chart, and it does tie in with something Mr. Marsh said, more than a third of our time is spent dealing with issues around vulnerability. So that little slide there says public safety, 34%. This is a North Somerset slide. What I would say is that the picture for the force is almost identical. It varies by a % here and there. But actually, when my teams go out, yes, a quarter of the time, that's the orange circle, they'll be dealing with crime, that traditional sort of perception of what the police do. But the reality is, more than a third of our time, we're dealing with vulnerable people. Yes, they will be missing children, they'll be missing adults, there'll be people suffering mental health crises, and people who are in a really vulnerable position and need the police. And as Sue said, what we're seeing is that all those other agencies that historically we've gone to for support and joint approaches are in the same position as we are, with resources that are constantly outstripped by demand. So some really complex issues there. You can see as well, you know, the other parts of it, I guess, are fairly standard, with issues involving the roads and transport and road traffic accidents and collisions, and that grey box, which is general, which is everything else. So when Sue and I have spoken fairly recently about our response to crime, which we do prioritise, and you know, most of us in the room will have joined to serve the public, but also to protect the vulnerable and deal with perpetrators of crime. Actually, it's a quarter of our time these days that's spent doing that. Next slide, please. This gives you just a little snapshot of what crime has looked like in the last 12 months. My chief touched on the massive opportunities offered by our data retrieval systems. Ours is called ClickSense. And this gives you an idea that we can go into a system. This is one of the laptops that has been referred to. It's the size of a notebook. I can, you know, this is my police station now. I can get everything I need to get from that. I'm not vastly technically capable, but I can make that work, and I can make it work really well. And it's more than portable and allows me to work from here, to work from a cafe in the town if that seems appropriate, to work from home when I need to, and wherever I need to be. And it, you know, what have I got now? 25 years service. This is probably the best bit of kit I've ever been issued with. It is that good. So within that, I can access ClickSense, and this tells you how we've looked for crime across North Somerset in the last 12 months. Would be remiss not to mention the big red bar at the beginning, which says possession of weapons. I don't know if you can all see that, which has seen a rise of 44%. Have I got a breakdown of? Yes. Well, I studied it because I knew I'd have that question. So the vast majority of that, and I've got the actual figures and we can have a chat. So the 44% rise equates to 67 more crimes, and nearly all of those, I think 62 or 63, are related to a bladed or pointed article, which ties in with what the Chief said about county lines crime, which we've spoken about, our drug dealing issues, very prevalent in Weston-super-Mare particularly, on this district. We're being very proactive around those drugs issues. We are disrupting, intervening, and in an awful lot of those cases we're recovering weapons. Nearly all of that is down to that. Firearms offences, which is the other thing that's covered by that, has actually seen a reduction. This is knife crime, or at least possession of weapons. Yeah. What I would say is that some of the numbers, so the robbery figure doesn't present a huge increase in pure numbers, but because the numbers were not that great to start, significant to start off with, the percentages look really big. But that, in a snapshot, really tells you everything we need to know about the crime that's affecting this county in the greatest way at the moment. Next slide, please. There we go, where you need us and when you need us. So as part of the neighbourhood remodelling, we've looked at our alignment of resources to make sure that our people are tasked where they need to be and when they need to be there. And that's the real gift that ClickSense gives us with its algorithms and the refresh of data as frequently as we need it. We know on Martin's beat, on Phil's beat, on Rookie's beat, who are the people that are coming to light most often for issues involving their vulnerability. Conversely, who are the issues that present the greatest risk to those vulnerable people on those beats? Where are the houses that we are attending most often? Where are the locations that are presenting the greatest demand? That's an enormous gift to us in terms of, at the start of the day, all these officers have access to this data and they can work out what their patrol plan is going to be for the day. Where are they going to be? Who are they going to try and engage with? What support services do they need to take out with them from our partner agencies to create a likely better outcome for the individuals. I've talked about the laptops already. That means that they can access all this data while they are out and about in their communities, accessible to you, but also able to get the absolute cutting edge information about where policing is required and when it's required. The other thing this does, and we've already touched on this, is give this much better opportunity for the interface between the public and the police. Police stations were our comfortable place to be when we were with like-minded people that they were our safe spaces. They are a thing largely of the past. You are our safe space now, hopefully, and it just allows for that greater discussion and dialogue between them as about what we're doing well, where we need to improve, and we welcome that opportunity. Next and possibly final slide, I think. Oh yeah, here we go. The other thing, and I think Sue touched on this briefly when she spoke about the various panels you could get involved in. One of the massive strengths of this policing district is the involvement of citizens in policing. You can see a little picture there. That's some special constables at the top. That's one of our 2 cadet groups at the bottom. We're the only LPA on the force, the only county that has 2 sets of cadets. That's a massive testimony to the young people on this, in this area who want to get involved in making their communities better. It's also, and I have to say this, huge testimony to the cadet leaders we have who give up their time and have absolutely nailed it with these individuals. These are great young people who are going to go on to achieve enormous things. Particular source of pride at the top there, that's the policing minister, Mr. Hearn, and to the right is one of our policing volunteers. She's called Bronwyn. She volunteers for us and works very closely with me. Bronwyn comes from a background of management in health at a strategic level, took early retirement and decided she had loads left to give. So she volunteers at an animal shelter on a Thursday, but on a Tuesday and a Wednesday she's ours. And that little area I told you about in the middle of the yellow in Weston-super-Mare, that's called the one-team area. It's the Bourneville and the Old Mixon estate in Weston-super-Mare. They are what's called areas of strategic high demand, and what that means is the demand not only on policing, but on health services and mental health services, absence from education, educational need is greater there, and greater to the extent that it's an area of strategic high demand. And Bronwyn works exclusively there, and the contribution she's made is massive. Before I did this job, I was a dyed-in-the-wool detective, been a detective for 20 years, and then I got this new outfit. And if you'd have told me 2 years ago that one of my most trusted, respected, valuable resources in policing would be somebody who comes in for free and gives us her time, and that I would trust her to the extent I do, I'd have gone and had a lie down in a dark room. I wouldn't have believed it. Bronwyn is a massively important part of the policing effort in this district, as are the cadets, as are the specials. We went to an award ceremony in London at the beginning of October. She came runner-up of all the volunteers in the country. Someone from Weston-super-Mare National, runner-up. That's how good it gets. That opportunity is available to all of you, actually. If you're interested in the policing of your county, if you want to become a part of it, there are just some of the ways that you can get involved. I can assure you, you'd be massively welcomed, and I would like to think you could work really well together. I'm pretty certain that was the last slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. I think outstanding, but also outstanding is the way that you police and work with local communities. As Leanne said, you know, we've been to many meetings, and many people who start from an issue of complaints, let's be honest. But actually when we explain, when Leanne explains about all the work that the police are doing, they go away actually very impressed. So, in order to try to impress you, we'll now be open to questions. So, we have a roving mic, and Mandy will walk around. Who's going to be brave enough to ask the first question? Mandy, please. Okay, Roger. It's you've got to be nice now.
To be fair to some of the uniform staff who I am ex-job, retired 12 years ago, to be fair. It's about staffing, 2 issues for staffing. Leanne, the only one that mentioned it, is specials. Years ago when I was a young lad, before I retired, we used to have 6 or 8 specials Friday and Saturday. You mentioned specials. What's the board's policy on specials?
Yeah.
And second one is a tougher one probably, is PCSOs. Unless things have changed, the powers they have are limited. And I believe that you two at the top have the power to increase their authorities if you wish. If you're so short of staff, could you not increase their powers so they could do some of the more minor stuff? Or swap them for policemen who have got full powers?
Whoa. No,
I'd sit down if you
It
want.
wasn't.
no, it's Mandy. Right. So specials, we've got about 350, and we'd like some more. Some parts of the force, particularly Somerset.
It is me, sorry.
It is you.
Hang on.
Mandy, stop it.
It's off, that's off.
I know it's not me. Some people think I'm almost dead when I'm standing up. I know I'm not moving. So we've got about 350. We'd like some more. One thing we haven't mentioned today, actually, when you're talking about visitors, I was with the new Chief Exec of the Bristol International Airport today. They have about 9 million through there, so you can double the amount of visitors you get. Most of them are flying from here. So that's 17 million you got there.
I'm doing ever so well.
I said to Dave, the Chief Exec, who was talking about policing at the airport, how many people do you employ? I think it's about 3,500, isn't it, Nigel? Yeah. I said, I want you to give me some special constables, and I want you to give them 12 days a year to police, and they can do some of it at the airport. And he went away saying, I guarantee you, Andy, I'll deliver on that. So we want specials. Some specials see it as a gateway into policing, and that's great, but it's not great if they only last 1 to 3 years. It costs over £2,000 to equip them and train them. There's a lot of money that, to be honest with you, this is about more than just a bridge with the community through specials. I want to hang on to them as well. So I want some people who are interested in joining. I want some career specials. We're working with small business, big business communities. I was with rural communities from West Somerset last week, and I said, right, gamekeepers, park wardens, farmers, I want some of you working with me to keep your community safe. So we're full on it, and are happy with that. PCSOs have, in my opinion, been a revolution in policing in my time. Lots of people had their doubts, but PCSOs, like police officers, some which are more effective than others, we're all human, but actually PCSOs are some of the most loved officers and staff in my force, seriously, they are. And one of the reasons is because they stick around, you see them, and they're visible in the communities. And actually they're working on the areas that you saw up there. Now the problem with the police, and I am one, and we can all look back to a golden age of a Dixon doctrine. Didn't happen in my time, I'll tell you that. Actually, the police are subject to all sorts of demands, some hidden, some private, on internet, online, child abuse, safeguarding, managing dangerous offenders, all stuff that you're not going to see them. And so actually, I want our PCSOs to be doing what they're doing. You saw it up there. If I gave them more powers, and to be honest with you, we're in the margins, there's virtually nothing I deny them the ability to do, they would become more an enforcement figure that actually found it more difficult to engage in their community. So actually, it is my judgment. I do listen to them. I listen to you. I want them to be doing what you saw up there.
That's fine, sir, but you said you're policing for us.
I am.
And if, and I'm just one person, but if the public would like the PCSOs to do more in the way of enforcement, and I can't be the only person you spoke to over the recent years who thinks this way.
I mean, that is, in fairness, that is the point of these sessions. I do listen to everyone. I mean, significantly, I use the 5,000 free brains in my organisation. I've run out of bright ideas now. These are the guys that have the bright ideas. I put them in place. But actually, Sue is a lightning conductor of public opinion. And actually, it is Sue that sets the police and crime plan that it's my job to nail. So, I've come here to listen, and that certainly made an impact, what you said.
Thank you.
I think we also did a survey of PCSOs wanting more powers, and the majority said that they didn't. And the reason is because one, it means that they stay in their community. If they were police officers, they may well have to be moved because of response. But I've also spoken to many young people, and they're our future, and they are much more comfortable in chatting to PCSOs because they don't have the power of arrest. Now, I know that you might say, well, can we manage all our young people through enforcement? No, we can't. Our PCSOs have some of the time and to build up a relationship. And they build up their relationships with the communities. The name is what it says on the tin. When there is not a crisis, because that preventative work is absolutely key. If we only ever manage with just going into enforcement and responding to 999 calls, we will end up into being a very reactionary police service and be overwhelmed by demand. What we have to do is preventative work, working with communities, working with our young people, and PCSOs have a fundamental, in my belief, have a fundamental role to play, and they are very much part of the policing family. And we are bucking the trend in Avon and Somerset by continuing to invest in those because of the work and the success that they have.
The only thing I'd add, and I feel duty bound to, is because we're talking about me like you're not here, ladies, and I apologise. There have been numbers of occasions when we've gone running out of the nick to something that's pretty tasty, and they've been at the front of the line. And I know that's not the point, Rog, but actually we're all in this together, and we have some fantastic professionals amongst our PCSOs. Always keen to learn, always keen to take on new things, and just really taking an important part of the work. Genuinely, brave people willing to put themselves out there.
Okay, thank you.
John Hunter, Community Safety and Community Speed Watching now. So thank you, Roger. You pitched my question. So I've got another one. Commissioner, you referred earlier to taking £12 from each of those extra for policing in the financial year. Is that enough? Because if you had £24 each, surely the Chief would be able to tackle the serious crime in the community, which is fighting wars. We all know that we're losing the drugs war, that very soon we're going to have more and more and more drugs. It's been intimated already. I feel that, and I personally would be very happy with another 12 or even another 24 every year to support the police. What's your view on that, please?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, let me say thank you for the community speed watch. It's one of the most effective speed watches that we've got in the area, and in fact, your visibility, I think, and dedication to tackling speeders on our roads has been really effective. Because most people in Nailsea, actually 94% comply with the speeding limits in Bristol, in Nailsea. Down to you, a lot of it's down to you. So I'd like to thank you for that. I think depending on which paper you read, and I read all the papers over the weekend, so I was trying to find out what was going to come out of the Home Secretary's mouth on Thursday. There is talk, there is a possibility, depending on who you believe, that they may take the cap off so that we could ask for more money. But it's always a very difficult one to balance this. So the fact that we've been able to ask for £12 in this year was because that's the upper limit that the government set. So if I'd gone above that, I would have had to have had a referendum. A referendum would have cost over £1 million. Not going to waste your money on doing that. There is talk, and we'll know on Thursday, there is talk that there may be a possibility of increasing that. But I'm also very much aware that we're asking really hard-pressed families. I was listening on the radio this morning that there are some families who cannot even make it to the end of the month, who are having to use food banks and who are really, really struggling. So I have to weigh up by asking them to pay more money, right, on something that I feel we could certainly spend 24, 36, whatever. You know, we have got some really interesting ways that we could tackle and protect our most vulnerable. But we've got to look at what the community can also afford. So that will be a real difficult one if we're taking off the precept. But it's a bit like smoke and mirrors, and this will show that I'm not a politician, because the whole point is that one of the big issues that's been coming over the hill is an enormous tax bill, pension bill, sorry, for the constabulary. And because of the OBR figures about the way that the economy may drop over the next few years, the Treasury have changed the discount rate. What that means is that next year the constabulary will have to pay over a £3 million extra bill on pensions, and in following years it may well have to be another £9 million on pensions. This is on top of the other savings that we knew about. This has only just come out. So I wonder if they may well say that we're going to take extra money from local residents, but actually is that only going to pay for this black hole of pensions? And that's not a great request to local people, is it? So we are going to have to look at what comes out of the announcement on Thursday. And yes, I would like to raise it to £24 if we were given the permission to do that, having gone out to consultation. We've been out consulting all summer and about the £12, because no one ever talked about £24 until Sunday, and that's only the press. And there's over 80% of those consulted are happy to pay £12. But the more you put it up, that number will obviously decrease. So it will be something that we will look at very, very closely, depending what the Home Secretary tells us.
Can I just add something to that? It's on the money. So one of the other ways in which we've sought to get the most out of the taxpayers' pound for the policing services that you need and we want to give you is that we've got fewer bosses than other comparable police forces. So we try to spend less on our buildings. And if it's only reassurance, weekly meetings with Sue, and she spends taxpayers' money as though it's our own in a very miserly fashion, which is a good thing because I'm a taxpayer as well. But I think that the thing that this might be difficult to tell in the public debate that will follow for the next few weeks. So I think we all recognise policing's stretched and there are new risks and dangers in society without any scaremongering. So you can see a document that Sue and I released called The Tipping Point, still on our websites last autumn, talking about these problems if you want the facts and figures. But then when you start talking about pension, you think, oh, well, I mean, so what are we paying for the officers' pensions for? There's been a lot of changes in the pensions. So the officers' contributions are up to 16%, that's pretty much more than any other occupational pension I know about, of their own money, and these are not well-paid people. So some of my officers actually need food banks. I'm being serious now, with the money that we don't pay them. So they pay a very significant amount in their pensions, and actually they are now expected to serve for 40 years. Can you imagine cops on the street in their 60s? So these are not fat cat public servants that paid a lot of money. So if that rhetoric starts to get out of there, it's just not the case, and it's very unfair. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. This lady here.
There were a couple of questions, but one of them has arisen since the list of wherever there is a crime, there will be victims. And one of the reasons I voted for Sue Mountstevens the first time around was because she said that that was a very important aspect and she was going to look into it. People who have suffered a road traffic death with a crime, drinking, driving, drugs, speeding, we have only just in the last 2 years been accepted, those left behind, as victims. We've never been counted as victims, but now we have, our name is now in the victim charter and we have rights. I was wondering where on that list that you gave